Welcome, everybody, to today's edition of Beyond the Ordinary Show. Today, we have an amazing conversation that is brewing for us as we speak with Mary and Gary O'Brien and ZAR, who is, oh, I almost dare not even try to describe ZAR because it's such an amazing wisdom that comes forward in an energy that is both welcoming and cheeky and guiding, and so familiar at the same time. So we're going to get in the conversation and we're going to be talking about unlocking the power of your multi-dimensional self. And I have to tell you guys, this is a conversation that just really excited me when I saw what we were going to be talking about because there's a lot going on in the field. And to tap into this particular field where we are right now and to expand what's possible, um, I feel like there's something potent, quite fun, and expansive that we're going to dive into. So, with that, Mary and Gary, welcome to the call today.
Thanks, John. It's always great to be here. And the energy of this conversation does feel very exciting. As we were just saying before we started, you know, I can feel what ZAR spoke about initially when we talked about, okay, what's the next step for the conversation with the community? And then over the last few weeks, I can feel it just keeps expanding, and I can feel the energy of that expansion in the multidimensional space. But the detail of it I haven't got yet. So I think I'm possibly as excited as anybody to hear what's going to come from ZAR in today's conversation.
Yeah. Oh, sorry, John. I was just going to say that the last time we spoke with you and then the following workshop, people had such an incredible response to that and such incredible awakenings, which was fantastic. So, holy cow, I have no idea how this is going to happen now.
My
But
crown is tingling right now. It's like, what is happening? What's
I
Mm.
happening?
know. I'm probably going to go because they're always excited when you're here, so
Yeah,
I
ZAR.
can feel them already. So if that's okay.
Of course. Well, as Gary's going in, Mary, I was going to ask if you could describe in a much more elegant way than I did the consciousness of ZAR and how you and Gary work with them.
Mm. So ZAR's energy is really pure compassion.
Mm.
They're that essence of us that is also compassion, that is light, that is source energy. And we've been channeling ZAR for, I think it's 16 years now. Actually, I should count that properly. But
Wow.
what's been beautiful over the years is that what they've been sharing continues to expand, because not only do Gary and I expand as we collaborate with them, but consciousness has been shifting over that time. And so ZAR's whole purpose for us is about remembering who we are, stepping into who we truly are to live as that light. And we talk a lot about the bridge of collaboration. So, there's the human physical part of us and there's our energetic spirit part. And very early on, Zara said, you've kind of got it boxed up, humans, because you're doing one or the other. When you think you're being spiritual, you deny the physical and you elevate everything to do with energy and you deny the human experience. But in fact, the purpose for us to be here is to bring these together in this beautiful, joyful, collaborative dance, to be energy and spirit in harmony and in joy and in love and compassion. And so their message over the years has always been giving us the breadcrumbs to step more fully into living as that energy. They've never been in physical human form. They're a pure energy of source, not from a particular dimension, not from a particular star, area. They are just pure source and compassion energy. And what's beautiful about, I think, today's conversation is where they're really taking us is to this next level of us really being able to not just know that we are multidimensional, not just kind of have that conceptual and maybe fleeting experience of a larger self, but to really live and bring all of those threads of us into a way of enriching who we are so that we can be that energy back out into the world.
Mm. Yes, much more elegant than I could have described it. Thank you so much. Amazing what's coming through. What has been your experience with ZAR and where he's taken you lately, since there's so much seems to be shipped and what we have access to? What's your personal experience in relationship to, again, the wisdom and perhaps the access that he's guiding you towards?
I think for me, there's been a lightness, an increased welcome, ZAR. You're there, you're here. It's a lightness, and it's partly, I think, because of this light therapy that we're now working with, that is working specifically with the physical to open us to more of source light. And so I just feel lighter and brighter. Not that I didn't before, it's that thing when for you'd be the same, we're always, it's kind of the next iteration of all that we are. And so I think there's a different feeling of, I think contentment is actually the word that's coming in.
Beautiful. Beautiful.
Yeah.
Love that. Thank you for that.
A fullness and a contentment.
Beautiful. So we have ZAR with us.
Yeah. So welcome, ZAR, to today's convo, exploration of our multidimensional selves.
Welcome, ZAR.
Welcome, young one. No, goodness, and all the other young ones. No, yes, well, we know, yes, we do, how you love our little quizzes. And we have a little quiz for you, briefly, as it is. Now, there's not much writing on this, though. You see, well, in your next, well, if you get these answers right, then you'll ascend as a grandmaster and you won't have to keep returning, and you can then support everybody as that incredible energy we know you to be. If you get it wrong, oh dear.
No pressure.
So, get used to pleasure and pain. No, so anyway, we're compassionate. Now, so are you ready for your quiz?
I don't know. Am I ready for the quiz?
Do you have a choice whether or not to be ready? Might be the question.
Yes, shoot, please.
There is purpose, young one. We're not, well, picking on you a little bit, maybe, but not really. We know you like to play. So here is your first question for grand ascendancy. So if there was nothing you had to be, who would you be?
I actually asked this question of someone 3 hours ago.
Oh, wow.
We've prepared your room then.
Which is really interesting. If there was nothing I had to be, who would I be? I'd want to be the expression of everything.
Oh. Oh.
And that's dangerous territory because now I'm saying I want to be God, right?
No. Well, you were just about to ascend, and then you put that little caveat in.
Knock yourself down. There you go.
I would normally say those kind of comments.
Back to pain and pleasure. So close to being a grandmaster. No. Isn't it fascinating you asked this question? Many no coincidences, young. So let us, and your answer was correct. There's a few extra words in there that were not required. So if there was nothing you had to be, who would you be? You would be no thing. You'd be nothing. Now, there's a difficulty with that, you see, and you are right in some regards to that. Then if I was nothing, or if I was everything, which nothing is, then I would be God. Yes. Well, you'd creation, you'd be everything, you see. Now, what is the difficulty with being everything. Here, you get another chance to be a grandmaster. Now, yes. What is the difficulty with being everything?
Our perception of it.
Oh, yes. Well, you might as well come up now. No point being on Earth. You might as well just come and save thousands of dimensions with your wisdom. Yes.
Mm.
What beautiful awareness you are. Now, there's the human condition. You see, when a human, well, let's call a form, because a human is just a form, really. We're talking about multidimensional selves, and dimensions are forms of being. You see, forms of experiencing. When you are everything, then as you are sharing, there is really no you to experience the everything. That is why humans, well, that is why energy manifests as form. In order to experience. Because in order to experience, there has to be something experiencing. There has to be, you could say, that observer. Someone or something, you noticing you doing and being. Because as you do notice you doing and being, and when you notice that whatever it is that you're doing is allowing you, then the universe, this little part of the universe, can then allow itself to grow, to expand, to be more of itself.
So as we're more of ourselves, ZAR, in that experiencing, from when we experience from our wholeness and that everything of us, but from being able to experience, then that's how everything else expands.
Yes, yes.
That's how the whole, so us as part of the whole,
yes,
allows the whole to become more, which allows us to then become more, because we can tap into more to then. So it's this beautiful, virtuous reinforcement.
Yes, beautiful, perfect. Now, what's the problem with experiencing?
That's a question for me, or a pause?
Oh yes, let's make it fun.
I wasn't sure. I wasn't sure.
We love that you put your hand up for it.
Maybe I'm saying stop. I don't know.
One of your multidimensional selves put their hand up, so the whole
Right?
thing.
That wasn't me. That was him. Yeah.
You could get them later. So what is the problem with experiencing?
Such a great question.
So think of, in order to experience, what has to be?
Well, there has to be consciousness, there has to be thought, there has to be judgment.
Yes, yeah.
Interpretation.
Yes. There has to be interpretation, which we would describe as separation. You see, in order for you to experience, now this is what happened so long ago when you as beings, well, you as forms came into being. You see, when energy is all that is, then there's no differentiation. There is only sameness. There is no you, even though you could say you exist in form because you're a part of everything. But you don't know you're different from, all you feel is sameness, and so you don't even really feel a you. And so when you manifest in form, You actually have to separate from this knowing that you are all that is, that you are sameness, into a separated space so you can experience and sort of in some ways return to that sameness while being informed. That's your purposeful being. And the difficulty for so many, especially, shall we say, first timers who come into form, oh goodness, they have a real old struggle. Oh. So you see, when you come into form and you feel this separation, which is required for you to experience, then you tend to forget that the experience is not real. It's just an expression of energy and motion that you're playing with, and then you become the experience that forms your physical thinking, your identity, yourself, and then you fall into blob. You see, you solidify the form, which is not the purpose. You are this. You are multidimensional, meaning you are forms. And these forms of you communicate continually with, you could say, yourselves. But sometimes a form gets bogged down in the experiencing of itself and solidifies its thinking rather than its knowing.
So with all of those forms of us, as you said, when we become kind of stuck in the experience and we solidify and we forget that we aren't, that we're more than the experience. But do all of our forms forget, or are some of those forms exist in a way that allows an ongoing remembering, which then is what feeds back to us always knowing that sense of us as more, that sense of, you know,
question.
this constriction doesn't feel right. Is that from our other dimensional selves?
Yes. So what a wonderful question. Yes, you see. Now, so many of you, well, let's use humans because that's who we're chatting to at this moment. So human form, you're all sorts of things, but anyway, human form. Now, many of you hear, sense, feel, know there's more. You get your tingles, you get your feelings, you feel the energy, la, la, la. Now, what you're doing is communicating with the whole of you. All the dimensionalized forms of self that are at different stages of becoming. And becoming means different stages of allowing, where you can be in an experience without being the experience. So you're still knowing your formlessness while allowing yourself to experience, to learn, to let it go, and to expand. In a nutshell, that's the purpose, you see.
So then that means those parts of us that are kind of using human thinking more advanced, that don't get pretzeled by experiences, that have experiences but still stay in their expanded knowing of who they are, because that's part of us, then from who we are now, we can then tap into that wisdom and knowing and the more advanced part of us to help us now. Then it would make sense, because we're all one. We're just fractals of a whole.
Yes, that is right. And you see, that is the separation that you had to go through in order to experience, that you keep coming through, letting go of and coming back again, letting go of, blah, blah, blah. It feels like an old story, but there's always more of you each time, not less. But that journey, you see, has real purpose. And your multidimensional selves can support you, but they have to get through, they have to get past your thinking of who you think you are. And that becomes quite difficult. And many beings who feel energy and then become energy healers or workers or light workers or whatever you wish to describe them as, they find it even more difficult because they feel such an incredible connection. Yet their physical life doesn't manifest in that same way because I, it's like that. We get that all the time.
It does kind of mess with your mind, doesn't it? You know, when we can
Yes.
feel all that we are, and yet it doesn't, that's not necessarily our lived experience from time to time.
Yes.
Well, I think is interesting also, and I'm curious how you'll answer this, is that whenever we tap into these conversations in this way, it's almost like it's assumed that we're at the bottom of the rung. Are there other aspects of the multidimensional selves that we're guiding as well? They look up to us. They're looking for that guidance.
Yes. Yes.
That's a lovely thought.
That is a
Never thought of
beautiful.
that.
And we have shared this with those who we have been talking with before. That we have shared with you, that we can show you how you can communicate with dimensions that need your guidance. Because you are not at the bottom of the rung. We understand. You see, that's the difficulty of thinking. That's the difficulty of having been separated from your knowing and becoming the physical experience, which is never the purpose of any journey, regardless of the dimension you're in. It's a part of it.
So it's other dimensions that we can, and other beings we can be in support and service to, but also other aspects of ourselves.
Oh, yes.
As well. So that, as you're saying, John, those multidimensional parts of us that maybe aren't where we are yet, but
Yes.
are in different ways evolving.
Exactly.
What I also appreciate about this, I apologize, Zara, it's that anyone who feels purposeless and doesn't know what to do, if just having that information and that knowing of the evolution that has taken place. Again, we work on past lifetimes. We work on clearing the ancestral line and generations, and wonderful. But I believe that those are fractals for the multidimensional aspects that we're tying together.
So, okay, here's a fascinating little journey. So the time when you croak, the time when you leave this existence and you return. Now, there are those beings, and you've met them, where they've only been in a form, and we'll say human form at this moment, for a short time. They haven't had really many existences, and some of them, because of that energy, cling quite strongly to the field of human. You see, they're becoming the experience of the form, which is not the purpose, but they do, because that's all the learning of it, you know. Now, when they return to all that is, there's a process of their return. There's a journey for them to learn and then to fold back into wholeness again, into form again. And it's the difficulty in some ways where the energy that exists and then manifests this form, it feels two families. The first family that it feels, which is via thinking, is the one that you have in the existence you're in, the physical existence or dimensional existence. You feel that affiliation to that group. That's your first family. But the knowing inside you, which has to be there to, that's how you flow in and flow out, that knowing, you see, it never loses its knowing to its real family, which is source. And that source field, that source energy that is you, well, that gives birth to you, shall we say, that is your first home, really. And you always know and feel your first home. And it is why so many feel sometimes so difficult to be on this earth, because the pull of their first home is so strong, especially ones who are just beginning this particular dimensional journey. They may have had others.
I love that when you just said that, Zara, about seeing source as our family. That feels really beautiful. I've never thought of it. I've always known as being part of it, but there's something feels, I don't know, very kind of comforting and beautiful with that.
Tingly in the most beautiful way, yes.
Yeah.
Very resonant. And comforting. Yeah, it's homey. It's like
homey. Yeah.
Yes. You see, here is why, and this is why we have been sharing only recently and with this young ones, young Mary, show
Oh,
this.
I've got one here.
You've got
Here we go.
one.
These are the little light therapy patches.
So let's
You
just
stick on
play
your
with
body.
this for a moment. This is just a little sticker. You see, when humans, when energy healers, when light workers, when all these people, they feel the energy in their hands and then they use the energy on people, and that boosts them and that gives them, the other person, an awareness, and also to the healer that's working on them. And then the person leaves and then life happens and things get in the way, and then you forget the beautiful experience because the energy has sort of been taken away a little bit because of who you think you are. And that's the difficulty that many light workers and energy workers have to deal with, is the thinking of the other person. And also the thinking of themselves. A lot can be going on with them while they're working on the other person. We hate on. You never work on anyone, as you know.
When we work with others.
Yes, that's right.
Always a collaboration.
Always a collaboration. Yeah. But anyway, now. And so creation gave a being that little window. And that little window, which is just frequencies, light reflecting light into the physical body, turning the physical body on back to its original source. So it's frequency playing with frequency.
Which is who and what we are.
This is what you are.
And sorry, though, I'm just having awareness. So what as you spoke then, what I realized happens is, when we go and have a Reiki session or an energy healing, or, or go to chant or whatever it is, our true frequency comes back into resonance with that whole frequency of whatever the thing is. And that's why in that space, we feel our wholeness, we start to shift and change, the body can heal, the body, the thinking can shift, because we're in connection with a field that reminds us and allows us to feel and access all that we are and who we truly are. Yes. And then, of course, what happens in human reality, as you're saying, is then you leave that space, you leave the Reiki session, or you leave the chant or the ecstatic dance or whatever it is, and we go back into life. And because our thinking is a dominant frequency over so many decades, we lose the feeling and the remembering of who we truly are. Whereas what these little, as I call these patches, the little windows, I've just realized what these little windows do, because they are a frequency of wholeness and light, we walk around in that resonant frequency of all that we are. We don't disconnect from it, because it's not just an hour, half hour on a table or in a group. So it's that resonant frequency we stay in, Zara. I'd never actually understood that it worked like that.
Well, I think you guys were eavesdropping on my conversation an hour and a half, 2 hours ago, because and someone was asking me, how is it that you work with your private clients? And I don't work with a lot of people. But it's like, what I'm aware that I do is I hold the vibrational state when we're in that intention of being together, and we acclimate, we adjust, we find the things through just conversation and refinement to attune to that space that we can carry together. And then it's an entrainment of holding that over longer terms of time.
Yes.
So amazing. Again, it's I love that.
Exactly. And so, and that's what then when we are able to plug in with these light therapy things, we plug into that entrained frequency, which boosts us so that it's easy for us to stay in it, you know, with these, you know, in some ways they're like training wheels. You know, they do a whole lot of things physically in the body, and people might want to keep using them, but from an energetic perspective, what they're doing is allowing us to walk around in our true energy so that we remember who that is. So then even without them, we can go, actually, I remember, oh, hang on, I can come back to that. We feel the disconnect, so we can come back into the connection.
Well, and something that I want to share perspective of as well, because what I really appreciate in the way that you're talking about the energetic shifts is that it's not a talk as like, hey, put this on or be in this vibrational frequency and that you're going to heal and shift and do all these other things and all the bad stuff's going to be gone, which isn't necessarily untrue, but that's not where it's being approached from. It has a different vibrational quality because the intentionality behind it.
Absolutely. Absolutely.
Yeah. Which is really
You see, hang on, we're going to use these fingers. Oh goodness,
You got it?
no, they never work.
Yeah,
There we go.
You got it.
We're going to stick it there.
Oh,
No,
oh, it's going to
no, it's going
oh,
to
there we
fall
go.
off.
the
No,
fingers
it's
aren't working for you.
such bizarre.
So, which is, you know, that
So-
which is interesting you're putting it there, because that's, as you're saying, John, yes, we use them because physical stuff shifts and changes. But when we're working, and which is what we did in the last sort of workshops last year with your community, we use these as that amplifier for us to connect into source, which is connecting back into who we are, which is why our meditations are deeper, where we can stay in them longer, where that ripple of the meditation and the process continues out much more than if we're just doing it without it. So
Yes.
You're not approaching it from you're broken and we're going to heal you. You're approaching it as like you're so much more than you believe that you are, and let's put you into vibrational accord with that.
yes.
Big
Yes.
difference in the way that it's received and delivered.
Yeah, absolutely.
When you oh, we better polish your gold throne as well. That's perfect. Now you think no. You see, when you come into physical form, you give us a feeling of human emotion, Jan. You give us a feeling of beauty, and we welcome you. You see, when when form comes into form, when it comes into our dimensional shape as a human, which is something we have often joked about, you could say, that, oh no, we would never leave who we know we are to go into a shape or to a form because of that incredible energy that all that is. But you, as dimensional beings, are so required for life to exist. If it was not for you and your learning and your allowing and your abilities, life would diminish. The universe would shrink. Nothing, you see, would appear. It is because of the beauty of you. It is because of the wisdom that you are sharing, and young Mary and others, that living is possible. And we, as energy, wish to support the beauty that you know you are. And the way that it occurs is that as you begin to realize that you are more energy than you are physical, when you begin to realize that frequency was your first language, when you begin to realize that that first language is the vibration of your own longevity, is the vibration of your own understanding and of your own allowing. When frequency begins to change you, whilst you're not even thinking about it, you're just putting a little window on, but frequency is working with the frequency, energy reflecting energy. When you know that, when you realize that the physical body that you felt was broken before, a little window goes on, you forget about it, you don't even know it's there until you have to take it off. It's done something inside your body. But what's done something? Frequency has. So frequency changed something that you thought was solid. Now you have to question, who do you know yourself to be? The little window may just seem like a little band-aid, but it is not. It is an awareness that you have just shared. It is you accepting that you are so much more. And you've just proven it to yourself because your physical is changing. Now you're changing your physical through frequency. Then who am I? Now doesn't the world open up? Now sensually you begin to awaken. Multidimensionally you begin to become resonant with all the other frequencies around you, because energy is reflecting energy via the frequency of your knowing, not your thinking anymore. Can you begin to see the power of this?
So it's because our frequency is shifting and changing through us opening with the
Yes.
windows.
Yes.
That is then opening us to be able to feel and communicate more with those multidimensional aspects of us. It's like it almost feels like it's our the bandwidth we have. We can tune into more radio stations of us than perhaps we could otherwise, or previously. And there are other ways obviously to get to do that, because but this is one way for us to expand our experience of all that we are.
Exactly. As the Grand Master just before shared, it's this intention. Now, to maintain an intention in 24 hours is difficult. But
until you are the intention.
Until energy reflects energy. That's right. Until you're frequencing, which is how you've always communicated. When you croak and you leave and you come to your original family, you're not blah, blah, blahing like we are to you now. You're, you could say. Oh.
Can you share ways that we can attune to the multidimensional selves and be in a more intimate relationship with it, so that wisdom can be cross-pollinated to really access the ascensionary energy that in this experience we're hoping to achieve?
So do you remember, young one, when we spoke, well, you spoke to Teo Mapua?
I do remember, yes. So beautiful.
And they gave you a chant.
Yes.
Yes. Now that chant, you did not understand the words.
Yeah.
But the words were a frequency. Did you feel the frequency?
Most definitely, yes.
Yes. Now we understand things, get in the way. But the frequency was doing something with you. Something that the thinking mind did not know or understand, but the body, the sensory system, the energy system remembered. It started to vibrate. It started to work in a different way. It started to hear the language of Source. Teo Mapua, being a part of Source, can speak that language. And they shared your signature with you. And everyone has a different signature. You can use also, they have some sameness ones there. Yeah, everybody can play with.
Well, that's what we did. So for people who aren't familiar, Taumapua is the earth frequency that Gary also channels. And they don't speak in human language, they speak frequency sounds. So it's a very beautiful resonant frequency. And they give us chance to do. And when we took the group to Europe, to Malta last year, that was, and we were all given a chant that we were working with in the lead up and while we were there and since, that was a group, that was an opening chant, wasn't it, for us to connect more?
Yes.
So that might be something, actually, I think we're going to add that in now to the offer. That'll be
Oh,
part of
amazing.
something in that. Yep. Yep.
Okay.
Yeah.
Because your earth has energy channels within it. There were ways in which the ancients knew how to communicate with source. And some of those were channeled into your rock. In very curious places where there shouldn't have been anything before. But, you know, oh, there was an ice age. And then lots of things went underwater. Things that were older than the things that are above land that are there now. But there were ancient structures that existed that had ways of communicating when energy was more free in its knowing. And some you can see upon your land, and some, well, you need to hold your breath for a long time to get to. But they're still there. But they are the channels that beings use to communicate with source. Some of you still do it now.
So in terms of your question too, John, about how else we can access these multidimensional parts of ourselves, and obviously the great symbol which we spoke about last time is a portal into that. But also just with the awareness that that is who we are, and that all of those aspects of us are present at any time. For all of us, when we meditate, or if you do an automatic writing process or whatever, holding that clear intention and the request to communicate with the parts of us that are most appropriate to support us where we are in that moment, will allow communication to come through. You know, I think often there are things that we can use that help, and sometimes we don't need to overcomplicate it. We can start where we are and use what we have to begin those conversations.
Well, and it goes back also to what we were talking about earlier, to really get to that place of access. The more we come into clarity within ourselves, when we bring ourselves more to that wholeness, and there's so many different ways to do that, including the little stickers, including being in a cohesive field here for the hour and a half that we're here, and different ways, again, to entrain that field to remember that we are that, and then we go more and more. But that's really the foundation of where that really begins from, I would imagine.
Yes. Yeah.
Your conversations that you have with many, many beings that are opening up the curiosity of humans that feel that they know something, but they're not quite sure what they know or even how they know it. That is a part of the awakening. There are humans, as you began the conversation with, that are starting to feel something within their planet. Now, many of them have been feeling it for a long time, but now there's an intensity. Why? Because they are coming into resonance with the frequency. The frequency's always there. That's why humans keep feeling it. Oh, now's the time, now's the time. But yes, it is the time, because we're not going to turn it off. We just want more of you to awaken to there's a shift that's occurring. Yes, it's in you. The universe is always on, and you're catching up. And so as you begin to feel this shift, because you're allowing you more, you're awakening, you're connecting to source, you're feeling the field, you're using your energy. Now, what does that mean? It means you're awakening. You're opening up. You're creating a difference from what you think is to who you know yourself to be. Now, that's perfect. Now you're fulfilling your purposeful being in form.
And when we do that, of course, what we feel is the fields of others that are doing the same, that aligned field, which then we all piggyback off each other, and it amplifies. You know, it's the synergy of the whole being greater than the parts. As we all do this for ourselves, and then we're energetically feeling in and linking in with everyone else who's doing it, the whole becomes greater. And then it's an easier field for others to access because it's amplified, easier to feel, easier to find.
Yes.
Zarmir, I'd love to pivot for a minute, because again, there's this amplified state that's happening on this call. Even again, so many people are commenting about how fascinating this is as well. And as we're holding that, I really want to get into the special offer because you really go deeper into this amplified state and then unlocking the power of the multidimensional self. And I just want to make sure that everybody has an opportunity to hear how you're describing the course, holding the energy of the amplification of the high vibrational tone that is being sung, and what they can expect when they show up for the calls with you guys. So, Chris, do me a favor and put the link for the special offer in the chat box. If y'all are on the live call, you can click on the special offer box from the page that you're watching on. And if you're watching this from the replay or YouTube page, look in the comments for the link for the special offer and join us as Mary or Czar. Tell us what you're going to have the extraordinary benefit of receiving. Yeah.
Well, it's one of those things, isn't it, that we know that the two live workshops with ZAR are going to be all about us being able to more easily access that multidimensional self, that field that we've been talking about, that expanded frequency and resonance. What we never really know is the detail of that in some ways until the group comes together, because it's the beauty of working with energy is that it'll be customized to whoever's live on those calls, or for people that can't make them live in March, that they'll, when they're in the replays, that energy of the people that come together is what will determine the specifics of it. But the essence of it will be that we'll be working with what ZAR's given us called the Great Symbol. And I'll let ZAR explain what that is in a second. But the Great Symbol is an energy portal that we've used with the group before. And the comments from people using it was how powerful it was to step into this existing field of creation, to amplify our ability to connect into other guides and wisdom, but also to that expanded part of us. So over the workshops, we'll be using techniques and offering people the opportunity to start to use these little windows as well as an amplifier if they choose to, so that we can simply talk to all that we are and bring that wisdom back into our day-to-day to live in a more expanded way, to fulfill our purpose as light shamans, to be brighter, to share more light, to be that ripple out into the field that we're here to be. So in terms of the Great Symbol and what you're feeling of the energy now, because this it's so interesting, isn't it? This feels different conversation to back in November when we did it.
Right.
It is this next iteration, the next amplification of the field.
And so, young ones, begin to imagine your planet has structures upon it that defy your logic. Your planet has an energy field that also many of you connect into, that also defies what your science says it is. You see, the energy of the Great Symbol, there are many of you that are here that are already multidimensional. There are many of you here that have come into this existence that still feels their multidimensionality and sometimes struggle with the very fact of being in a human form, because sometimes it is rather restrictive. Doesn't have to be, but it can be because of what was before. The energy of the Great Symbol is how oh, okay. Ah. Hmm. Hmm. When the great symbol is shared with you, why is it so familiar to so many? It is so familiar to so many because it is how you remember your conversation with home. You see, when you leave any form, you return to a familiar space. But there's this little duality period where you're still remembering your old form and you know your home, because remember, the two homes are still existing. And there's that little, you could say, slippery slope of where the two places are still there. But you come within the energy of the great symbol, and that is immediately the breath out. As we've shared so many times with young ones, when you leave, that last breath out is that last breath out because it is you going, ah. Because now the remembering of where you once were and who you truly are returns. And the energy of the great symbol is all the energies around you that are supporting you, that are cradling you. Within the energy of the great symbol, you sit right in the center of it. You are cradled by source, by the deities, by the angels, by those who have guided you, by your guides, your masters. They are there supporting you in that transition. And that's why it's so familiar. Now, in order to feel that space here in form, you have to be a resonant frequency. And that's what we began to share in the last conversation, because our meditations with you are frequency conversations, and they vibrate you into space.
So you bring us into an energetic alignment with the great symbol, which obviously, you know, the frequency of that is extraordinary. So we it's almost like bite-sized pieces of it as we keep expanding and coming into. And what was beautiful with the last group, and so one of the things in the offer, John, as you'd have seen, is that for anyone who joins us for these two workshops, what they also get are last year's two workshops, because they're the foundational pieces. So they'll get the videos of those workshops. They'll get the meditations and the processes. And it's why we've pushed the live workshops out until March for this offer, because we want people to have time to really come into that energetic alignment with the great symbol and have time to play in that field before they do the next expansion. So it's what's been beautiful with that people have been using the great symbol, and whether they've been using the light frequency or not, but it expands their connection and their knowing and their peace. And someone said, you know, I just feel I'm more sensitive to energy. I'm more aware of energy as I'm moving around when I'm combining the great symbol and the light therapy. And others just using the great symbol are having expansive experiences and rememberings of who they are. So it's a beautiful collaboration, however people choose to engage with it.
It's really, it's a beautiful package that's been put together for us, again, with the live calls, again, the specially curated collection of those courses, to bring up to speed and vibrational, again, attunement and attainment at particular octaves. And then when you get together, it's just, it's I can only imagine the experience. There's a lot of people writing in about the symbol, the great symbol, and their experience with it and how profound it's been for them. So thank you all for writing in and sharing how beautiful, I'll say, it has interacted with you. Beautifully, it has interacted with you. You know, the special offer is $177. It's significantly discounted to work with Gary and Mary and DZAR in this way. There's a 2-payment option, and it's there. You as a member of Beyond the Ordinary, in service to you and your transformation, your growth, your ascension, and your joy and love and peace. I highly encourage you to participate in it. Again, the link for the special offer, it's in the chat box. It's in the window if you're watching live. just click on the special offer, or if you're watching the replay on the YouTube page, look in the comment section for the special offer link, and I hope you dive in with Gary and Mary. And it'll be a lot of fun, no doubts whatsoever. Question for you: do people feel like they've been in such a high frequency state that they need to go lie down and they're tired for like a day or two afterwards, or do they feel more vital and energized, or does it vary?
That's such a funny question in a way. If we're doing it right, in inverted commas, we feel energized, we feel expanded, we feel more full of who we truly are. If we're feeling whacked energetically and needing to sleep, then chances are it's our thinking that's fighting the energy and the change, because it's source energy, it's pure essence, and so it's only ever going to allow us, it's only ever going to be it's only ever going to allow us to expand. So yeah, no, it would be, I'd be curious. I haven't heard anyone say they felt they needed to recover from it.
Right. Yeah. I appreciate that. And for clarity's sake, because I know a lot of people are going to be writing in and asking, the windows, the patches are not included in the offer.
No.
Right.
Yep. So they're not. So if people want to, what we do is when people book in with the offer, I send them an email with a link so that we can have a conversation to talk about how they can access them. People can access them other ways as well if they want to get in touch with us otherwise. But yes, they're not included in the offer. Right. And if people go, no, I just don't want to do that, I just want to do the great symbol, that's fine. You know, it's whatever feels right for everybody at the time. Beautiful. These do amplify and they'll make it even more powerful in most people's experiences, but you get to choose.
Right. Hey, if you all have any questions, want to raise your hand and ask questions or type it into the chat, we can go through some of that, which will be wonderful because it's always a great addition to the call. So we can drop in on that in just a little bit. ZAR, I need to ask you, and hopefully it's not too far off topic. I don't think that it is. All this attainment and achievement towards higher vibrational states in light, as we'll call it, why was the density even created?
How many beings have you heard that they say, well, we love a challenge?
Yeah.
So
let's delete that from the lexicon.
So it is a perfectly beautiful and wise question. So let us share. So one of the things with allowing is this, that we allow you. Now, when you as pure form came into, well, let us put it this way, when you as pure source came into form, and remember we began with, in order for form, in order to experience, there has to be form. Okay, so now form is learning how to experience, so that then that experience, they can determine who they know themselves to be within the experience. Now, the difficulty was, the experiences are fun, you see, because when you're an expression of all that is, well, it's just all that is. You see, there's nothing to experience because it's all there. And it is why we welcomed you before, because you gave us the experience of emotion. Now, we've had that experience, and we've put that in our little folder, thanking to John the Grandmaster. We've put that there, and we've moved on. We haven't become the emotion. We haven't allowed it to shape the rest of our conversation and just be in a blithering blob on the floor. No, we've allowed that expression to be. The difficulty was with curious form. Well, what happens if we stay that experience for a day or two? Oh, let's really experience the emotion of that sadness of separation. Oh, wow. that'd be so good. Let's play there. And then they play in that, and then they go, oh, there was something I had to do a few days ago. Oh, I can't remember what it was. Return to source? No, it wasn't that. No, pain's fantastic. That's a great experience. You see, they became the experience because you're playing. Well, they forgot to play, you see, because play ends. This didn't. This didn't end. They became the experience. The experience forms the identity and behaviors of who you think you are, and then you become the blob. The source of you, the wholeness of you, is still there, going knock, 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 knock. No
So
one's
it
home.
wasn't set up by source to happen
Oh,
that way.
no.
It's just us.
No.
We've created these dense fields of connected to experience and limited ourselves in it over lifetimes and lifetimes and lifetimes.
Yes.
And that's now, of course, a shared field that we also, when we come into physical form, we resonate with that field because that's the dominant field for most humans until it won't be.
You see, that's why you have multi-dimensions. And you asked the question before, are there some that you can teach as humans? Yes, there are. Those who are really embedded in experience, blah, 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 blah. Those who you are learning from, those who learn to play with experience, then let it go. You see, then when you play, then you know who you are. Oh, what else do I want to play with? Oh, I want to play with this. What if I added this with this? What if I added pleasure with pain? What happens then? What if I added the sadness with happiness? What if I? You see, you play within it, you mix it up like all different colors and see what happens. And then you go, okay. Back to wholeness. That's the game, you see. Some stick. Some you let go. That's what you were describing before. When you look at past lives, they're sticky little suckers, aren't they? You look at past lives. Why do you look at past lives? That's where the pain is, baby. Yeah, I'm going back there. Boy, I remember that. Look at that. Oh, all the guts and everything pouring out of you. That's where the beauty is. Oh, done with that. I'm coming back to this knowing of self. Oh, yuck. Oh, that's terrible back there. Yeah, but you see, this is it. You can't go and experience anything anywhere. Just come back.
Beautiful. I'm curious also, there's all these threads of wisdom and support and data, information that's really that can act as guideposts again for our self-discovery and self-awareness. We can attune to grandmasters, we can attune to ascend or collective consciousness such as what you bring in and in high frequency form. It's, you know, some in the angelics in different places. We have that access. And again, we have our multi-dimensional selves. And I get that one supports the other and vice versa, but would it seem to be more beneficial to get to know the full aspect of us and our multi-dimensional selves rather than leaning on the angelics, the ascended masters, and not that we don't, but maybe sometimes we rely on them too much as a crutch for comfort.
That's such a great observation, because when you think about it, who do we think we are that we need to keep looking for that wisdom and the power outside of us? And it's not that we don't want to access that. You know, we want to access SARS frequency and wisdom as a gateway to us then accessing, as you're saying, that multidimensional us that is available, that provides that offers so much wisdom and frequency. So yeah, it's accepting. We have to accept a lot about who we are to say, I'm going to make all that I can share with me the priority for now. You know, this is where I'm going to lean in and focus.
Beautiful. Sorry, I have another question for you.
Are you trying to take our job, young one? We can dust the other stool off next time.
Love your question.
But I'm curious, I want to play with you. What is your wish for humanity?
Mm.
Our, our wish for humanity is to allow who you know yourself to be, to be. For that is all there is. All the pain, all the discomfort, all the difficulty is you're thinking, judging this you. All the struggle that you have is an identity that you've been taught to be that has become the experiencing of you. That experience has become your reality, your reality. And it is not who you are. Because if it was who you were and who you are, you would have given up. But none of you have given up. We know there are times you want to give up because it's really hard. Yes, it is. But when a light goes on, when an awakening occurs, when a moment happens, you know, oh, you call it hope, but you feel something, there's a spark, there's a little something that then happens inside you, then that begins to grow and you start your search again. You may have been in the mud, but you climb out and look for your shower. There is purpose in you. You do not have to be in the mud. There does not have to be pain before the love. That's just what you think is. There doesn't have to be darkness before the dawn, blah, 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 all the things humans say, just to keep you stuck in the pain. You are so much more than this. But then that is your journey of becoming. That is you learning. That is you realizing that you are a frequency that does not have to be what you think or what you've been taught you are, because you are not.
Imagine a
And
world.
that would apply to new souls and old souls. It's not
Oh, yes.
exclusive to the cycle of karma that we're taught that we have to go through.
Yes, that's, there is no cycle. You don't have to keep coming and going. If you decided to allow all in one lifetime, wow. Imagine what the universe would do then. We can open up another branch. It'll be like,
You'll franchise the Universal Bar.
that's right. We'll put it out there. Well, Walmart Universe or something, we'll just expand it. We'll make it more. You see, because creation is endless, you see. This sense of you that has to struggle, it's towards self. Because when you leave, each time you leave your life, your form, you return to your wholeness. You return to your home. In your home, there's no pain, there's no discomfort, there's no, oh, I wish I was taller, shorter, smaller, bigger, whatever it is. There's none of that, because you're a part now of all that is. You're a part of wholeness, and wholeness is accepting. It's inclusive. It allows everything. You can play in experience in wholeness and never, ever become it, but you can play within it. And you're playing with your family that knows you, loves you, accepts you, because they're exactly the same as you. They come from the same source. So they even look the same, you could say, just this big blur. Like this. But you see, that's it. And then you go, okay, oh, what a great break. Now, what can we do next? Oh, let's become this dimension with 28 heads. No, there's a challenge. I had to give 12 of them brains. The others can just be hanging around. Let's see what we can do with them. And then we can go into that dimension. And oh, what was I thinking? Well, anyway, you were, but you'll be back soon. That's fine.
Hmm.
It's all
Amazing.
just a big play.
Hmm.
But it becomes so serious when you become the experience.
And we become the experience because we forget who we are. And so we let our sense of self be shaped by the experience. Whereas, as you're saying, if we can always just remember and stay in that knowing of who we truly are, then we experience without needing, we might, still be, we might have upsets and sadness and hurt, but we don't allow it to shape who we are. We still move through it, however slowly or quickly.
Where do our relationships come into play? It's again such a beautiful connection between Gary and Mary, and again just reflecting, growth and expansion with each other. And some people were tie into the concepts of twin flames or those sparks of remembrances from experiences. How does that tie into are aspects of multidimensional self, and what roles do you feel it playing at this time? I'm having fun with ZAR today, y'all. I'm just
You are. It's great. It's a great
Yes.
question. Yeah,
Yes.
it's fabulous.
Oh, goodness. Well, hasn't the shoe been placed on the other foot? Yes.
Getting the questions before you can, Zar.
Yes. We're not sure.
Then you
if
can
we
read my
get to
horoscope later. Yes.
we hope we go through the right door this time. Okay, so the purpose of relationship and twin flames. So relationship is fascinating because relationship is, well, there's a few aspects to this. First of all, relationship is the key to transformation. Because you have to be in relationship to learn. Within the energy of a relationship, it's energy reflecting energy. But you see, in the relationship, and this is where the difficulty occurs, time. Now, when you begin the relationship, it's all, wow, you see, there feels so much sameness, there feels so much whateverness, even twin flameness, soul buddies, all that sort of thing. Yes, it all feels so incredible. And then these little funny question marks begin to appear. Down the track, we're moving through time, down the track, question marks. Oh, the flames. It was a bushfire. Now it's a bit of a dwindling match. I'm not sure where that flame went. You see, something occurs. Now, in the moment, energy reflected energy, you were attracted to that sameness. That's what frequency does. Now, there was a purpose to that attraction. What are you learning from within that experience? The difficulty is people become that pain or that difficulty or that frustration. I won't do that again, and then they do it next time. Twin flames are just a modulation of the same frequencies. It feels so whole because the frequencies are in alignment, which doesn't always happen. There's partial frequencies that match up. And so, you get 30% of it. That's good enough for me. Let's get together, baby, like this. And then you get what you call twin flames, which is about an 80% frequency match. And now it's, woohoo, we must have been together so many times. I've been stalking you through lifetimes. That moment, now, yes and no. There's familiarity. There's samenesses there. You may not have been together in all these lives, but there's similarities that are so close in frequency that you come together to learn, because you can support the other and the other can support you. But sometimes the labeling of what it is then can makes it into this squishy, wishy blob, and learning doesn't occur.
It constricts it, the expectation, because there's a lot of expectation, isn't there, when people talk about, oh, it's my soulmate or all of those things.
Yeah.
Suddenly there's it does constrict it, rather than the familiarity, which is the space of us being able to explore and expand for however long that journey is in alignment, and then we move on. Once we start to restrict it, of course, then it becomes important. And
So it's really in its power when two sovereigns come together,
oh yes,
right?
it's a real feeling of home.
Yeah.
It feels like home. You see, that's how you feel when you're not in
Yeah.
form.
Yeah.
And so, of course, it feels extraordinary because it's your remembering that is saying, ah, I'm at home in human form. And then things happen. I'm not so at home now.
But that sovereign aspect, John, I think that's a really important piece, because when we come into a relationship, and as you went at it, you know, we're sovereign, we're whole, we're two whole beings coming together.
Right.
Sometimes what happens in the twin, when people experience that twin flame, is their sense of, oh, now I feel complete.
Right.
It's like there's a missing part of me that suddenly, you know, now I'm complete. Or then that's never
Right.
never
You
a
get to
good
complete
sign.
me. It's your job to
That's
complete
right.
me.
Yeah. But when we don't feel our completeness, and then we come together as two whole beings,
And we try to
that's
get their multi-dimensional selves to heal the part of ourselves that feels bad, and it all
that's
is
right.
like cross wiring that creates, you know,
It gets very messy.
fire, you know, fire in the house, right?
Yeah.
But isn't love incredible?
Oh my God. It's
Oh,
best.
that is it.
Mm.
You see, every human, every form, regardless of dimension, is wanting that expression of love. And it's always the interpretation that changes. But the essence that love is the same throughout the entirety of creation. It doesn't alter, it doesn't change, it doesn't become more or less, because it's a whole frequency, it's all that is. And so it stays on this incredible, like this moment, right? The only thing that changes is the you, the observer, and the experiencing. That's the only thing that shifts it. But when it comes together in that incredible moment, why did creation put love there? So you would remember home.
And remember us.
Oh, yes, that's right. But then you see pleasure and pain. You see first beginning. Then you get into, oh, but if I feel love, then I feel pain. Oh. Then you say, no, you don't. Then you feel the form that you're in. You become the identity. You've experienced the experience, blah, 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 blah. You see, when you're at home on the couch with creation, oh, yeah, baby, everything is fantastic. You see, we're all just like
And
this.
it reminds me actually of an experience I had with the Great Symbol after we'd done the last workshops, and I was having a day where I was just feeling off. And so I thought, oh, okay, so I just lay down to meditate, and I just stepped into the Great Symbol. And well, it was almost like a washing clean of that. It was a remembering, and all of that kind of this, you know, the restriction or the stickiness or the jagged edges of that day, because they're not a frequency match for the frequency of the Great Symbol, and not a frequency match for who we truly are, which is amplified in the Great Symbol, it just ceased to be an issue. And by the time I, you know, kind of finished and literally felt like I'd come out of a shower, you know, I felt fresh and rejuvenated, and I was back. And so that's that beautiful thing, is we have experiences, being able to have tools and processes that we can use to easily and quickly come back to that remembering of who we are, to not become the experience, to rinse ourselves of whatever that thinking has been, and to be able to remember who we are. It just means we move in and out of the experiences so much more quickly and easily.
Beautiful. It's you know, as we're wrapping up today's call, and I want to get to, I have a question for each one of you, Mary and Czar. And then before I get to that, I want to remind all of you of this special offer. The link's in the chat box. It's on the page. It's in the comment section. on the replay. I hope you take advantage of it. And of course, the replay will be up a little bit after we finish the live call. So stay tuned for the replay as well. Or if you're looking for it, uh, it'll be there shortly. Um, and with that, Mary, first I want to ask you, what has you excited about this particular course, Unlock the Power of Your Multidimensional Self?
Mm. You know, I've always known that there are other parts of me and other energies communicating. And I've played with remote viewing and had some really amazing experiences tapping into information that then has been, verified after the fact. So I just know it. It's like it's almost as though I can see all these bits around me, and I tap into it. But what I am expecting from this course is that I'll have an even clearer access point to all of that information and wisdom, and that I know is just going to make life even more joyful. That's the piece I'm excited about.
Oh, wonderful. I appreciate that. Thank you. Thank you. And it's again, the way that you two present together, the way Gary shows up, and the intentionality of it all is just, it's so refined. And
Mm.
it's such a high vibrational field in that love frequency. And it's expansionary just in the very intention of that. So showing up and participating and going through the experiences and being with other people in community to share and to crisscross the learning. It's a profound experience. So I'm really grateful that you guys put this together. Um,
You.
yeah. And Czar, I'm curious. I have a request
Hmm.
is as we end the call today, if there's a transmission, words, shower of love that you can leave us with before we say goodbye to everybody.
Hmm. 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 Hmm.
Mm.
What we wish to share with you, young ones, is that your curiosity is leading you somewhere. Your curiosity is the thing that has allowed you to keep your head above sometimes turbulent water. The knowing that exists in you is real. You are not false in your journeying to discover more of who you are, because you are following your knowing. You will be criticized, you will be judged, you will find difficulty and you will find pain. And you will also find love. You will find the love of you, a love that has decided to do this journey, a love that allows you to realize that you are the purpose that life exists.
Hmm.
Because through the very being of you, through the very being of you allowing your journeying, the curiosity of you, you stimulate energy into wholeness. So young ones and old ones and middle-aged ones, shall we say, we know you won't stop. And all we wish for you to do is to accept this you that is, and to deny everything else, but for you to accept the you that is, for they are extraordinary in all the forms that you are.
Zara, from your lips to our hearts, thank you.
Mm.
Yes.
Mm.
Thank you, Mary. Thank you, Zara. Thank you, Gary.
Mm. Very well.
Thank you,
Very
sir.
Mm, yeah, it's been wonderful having you on, as
Oh,
always.
always a joy. Thank you, John. Always lovely to connect.
Gary
And
coming back. I want to say goodbye to him. Maybe not.
Coming back. There, here he is. Welcome back.
Mm.
To rush you.
Yeah. Again, I have to listen to the replay and find out what that was all about. It was lovely. You had another lovely conversation.
Was it good?
It was
Okay.
really
It was wonderful. Gary, thank you so much. It's wonderful seeing you. It's wonderful feeling your
John,
call.
big hugs to you, mate.
Yeah.
Mm.
Yeah.
Big hugs to you as well. Yes. Thank you, thank you, thank you. And everybody on the call listening to the replay, thank you. Thank you for your hearts, your beingness, your multi-dimensional selves. They make up who you are. And with that, just namaste to everybody. Have a great night.
Beautiful, everyone.
Thank you.
Bye.
Lots
Thank
of
you,
love.
John.
Bye.